show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of February, Mountain Glass is offering shot, tube, and rod at 40% off. Just put in the code SHOT, that is SCHOTT at checkout. And for all you soft glass nerds, they are offering their COE 104 sale, Creation is Messy, 30% off. Just put in the code MESSY, that is MESSY at checkout. And for any other questions and all your glass needs, just go to mountainglass.com. That is mountainglass.com.
My mystics, visionary philosophers. My mystics.
Pendexter said that I welcome this visionary because people have got to know.
Get a party around the world, and I believe that if we can get ambassadors who can speak the language, bring students in the future, a new generation of America.
My mystics.
Strong defense, strong in economic growth.
Our senses and our minds will no longer respond to moderate stimulation.
Hey, what's happening? How are you? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 80. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm excited to bring you conversations with artists sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain while helping you grow your business. Thank you again for tuning in. Today we are going to be featuring our Artist of the Week, which is going to be a best of featuring Timothy Pendexter, Alaskan-based glass artist. This is an awesome story we have, talking about what it's like to work in the great wild of Alaska. One of my favorite pointers and takeaways from this, besides kind of his background and where he's been and who he learned from, was the fact that he is able to get the gold that he uses straight from the horse's ass or horse's mouth, whichever quote term that is used. But literally, he gets it from friends of his that mine and pan for gold out in Alaska, and they actually give it to him, and they know exactly where it came from, what ravine or river or what have you. And I thought it was pretty fascinating to learn about that actually getting gold for his glass comes right from the earth, and it's knowing where it comes from is pretty sweet. So I thought it's kind of a cool takeaway from there. Also want to give you guys a quick little update on the show. I am going to be now turning the show on the podcast into 2 days a week. I am doing this because I am starting to kind of go through the revision of the show where I am going to be focusing at least 2 days a week on the YouTube channel. We're going to be doing the YouTube channel basically is going to be 1 day a week, but my goal here for this next month of February is I'm taking 2 days out of my time to really focus on recording videos and getting content for you together. That way, not only can you listen to the show and get some insights and offerings from the guests and also from myself and what have you, but also we will be having a direct conversation through YouTube where I'm going to have all kind of videos, instructional stuff, kind of insides, and really breaking down all the stuff we've been talking about. Everything from how to properly run a liquid oxygen tank, how to fill your budget forms out, how to pull points, how to set up your bench, ventilation systems, the whole 9 yards. We're going to be going over all of that, which is super exciting. And I really can't wait to get that going here. The YouTube channel is going to be Wise Guy Radio. I've already got it created. I haven't launched it yet. I think you can probably just go to Wise Guy Radio if you searched it in YouTube and you'll find it. But again, it's still kind of there. It's blank. Nothing's up yet. But through the month of February, I'm going to be taking advantage of taking the 1 day away from the podcast and then taking that energy I have and put it into the YouTube channel for you guys for other videos and takeaways. There's a lot of out there, a lot of artists that do amazing work through YouTube and different channels you can get for video content and for instructional stuff. But as far as I've seen, there's not a whole lot out there that involves all the nitty-gritty details of things, like, again, how to properly set up a liquid oxygen tank. So I think because of that, it's really what's been driving me to really get the Q&A show going, which then has going to then evolve into the YouTube channel. So if you guys didn't hear a show on this past Friday, that's why I had my monthly meeting with my podcast coach, Mike Sharkey, where you can check him out at his show is called The Talent Show. It's a pretty good show if you're interested in podcasting or just how to improve yourself as a speaker in general. But we talked about it, and for about 6 months since I started the show, he has continued to recommend that I bring the show down to 2 days a week, which will help me with my bandwidth and energy, make sure the shows come out on time with great stuff in there and lessons for you guys, which finally I gave in. But I only gave in because, again, I'm going to take this amount of energy I have and really focus on the YouTube channel. And also, I'm going to be at Disney now for doing 3 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week, through the month of May as we get our Shanghai, China store opened up, which is kind of crazy that Disney is opening up in China. But we are, and we have one of our master glass artists that is heading over to China here soon to train our employees. So I'm going to be covering shifts there. So really it's going to give me a chance to focus not only on doing custom work and building up my inventory for my glass, but really the goal is to take this energy and time that I have now to really, truly focus on this show, which I'm excited about, and kind of been revamping some things and backpedaling on a couple areas of my life. Not really backpedaling, but kind of just cutting some shit out, cutting all the fat out, if that makes any sense. So anyways, it's been a while since I've talked to you. Had me in your ears, not you in my ears, but you're in my ears too, always. So I hope you guys enjoyed this show and enjoyed this conversation I had with Timothy. Again, he's a newer glass artist, but he is a really awesome dude, very humble, and has a killer story about his time and where he is in Alaska. So I hope you guys enjoy this. You can find him on Instagram at the Glass Owl Alaska. Thanks for tuning in. You rock and roll. Enjoy the torch. Happy melting this week, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday on the next episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. Enjoy the conversation with Tim Pendexter, and we'll see you guys in episode 80. Take it easy. Love you. Peace. What's going on, Tim? How are you, brother?
Jason, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, man, not a problem, dude. So just so everybody has a little background on Tim, he is an Alaskan-based glass artist. And part of my reason for wanting to talk to him on this particular show is that he is out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm really curious how the hell he's able to work and where he gets his materials from and oxygen and propane. Because I know a lot of you guys out there and ladies that listen to the show live out in rural America where you're out in the woods or whatever, and there's like 10,000 different ways we can fuel our torches besides getting oxygen brought to our house. So I thought it'd be fun to bring you on and learn from you in a sense on how you make it work. And thank you so much for taking your time out of your vacation, being in Maine right now, to come on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. It's a real honor to be on your show.
Beautiful, dude. All right, man. So to get into the show, want to give us a little bit of background, like how long ago you started, who introduced you, if anybody, and kind of how you got yourself going.
Yeah, totally. Well, I've been on the torch for about 2 years now, and I was first exposed to glass blowing and lamp working by my cousins, actually. My cousin John, he owns Mobius Glassworks. He started that.
Okay.
And both of my cousins are lamp workers. They've been at it for about 15 years now. So
awesome.
Glass has always had a pretty strong presence in my life, being exposed to them doing it and being able to check out their studios kind of earlier on in high school and whatnot. But even before that, my grandpa, he worked with stained glass. And that's actually where I got my name, the Glass Owl. That was the name of his business. That was operating for about 16 years. I grew up in California, and that's where both my cousins and my grandpa were located. So, yeah, like I said, I've been kind of exposed to glass for a long time, but more specifically, directly from my cousins. About 2 years ago, I got the opportunity to do an apprenticeship with my cousin, which was killer. Spent about 2 months with him and down in California, and he kind of taught me some basic fundamentals and gave me a torch that on loan. So I brought that back up to Alaska, and I've been making a go of it up there ever since.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. It's always nice to hear when you get started that you get that kind of foundation, because there's a lot of people out there that are amazing at what they do as an artist, but not necessarily good at what they do as a teacher, per se, And it's so important to get that strong foundation from the very get-go. Like, no bullshit. Like, don't jump into doing wigwags. Like, learn how to ball up a mass of glass type of thing. So like, that being said, like, what kind of stuff did you start doing at the very beginning that when they brought you in to do your apprenticeship? Like, what kind of, little things did you start?
Yeah, it's funny, actually. My cousin was a really good teacher, and he put a lot of effort into trying to pay attention to teaching me the fundamentals in a way that would benefit me in the long run. So I really owe all my credit to him for getting me started. But it was funny. The first night I showed up, actually, he said, all right, I'm going to show you how to make just a clear sphere marble without using a marble mold. So he showed me that, and then he said, I want you to make 100 of those before I'll give you the next lesson. So I spent about a week just trying to shape out clear marbles, and that was really kind of the beginning of the process there.
Yeah, dude, I do that, and that's cool that he does that, because like, when someone works for me or starts learning or whatever, they make the first one, and I tell them to do it 100 times, and usually like around like 75 to 80ish, you start getting like a muscle memory where you can like almost close your eyes and like
Yeah.
really just feel that glass moving. Because we've got a guy right now in our studio who's helping get our HVAC in, and we were talking about that today. And it's like it's so important to really feel the physical side of how glass moves and your muscles to really get that balance down. Like if you don't have any kind of like good balance in your life in general when you walk, you may still find that you have balance with other things like juggling or whatever. And that's really what you're doing. It's that whole concept of like having honey on the end of a straw and trying to keep it balanced and centered. And it's good to hear that he did that, because it's anybody out there that's learning. If you haven't got that foundation, stop what you're doing, go get a rod of glass, and try to make a perfect round ball of glass. Keep it balanced. If you got that down, no problem, then you're good to go for a while.
Yeah,
So
it was
important.
a pretty, cheap way to get started too. Didn't waste too much color or anything like that. I think honestly, I made it to about 85 marbles or so before I couldn't handle it anymore.
Where it gets monotonous, you're like, okay, I got this down. It's time for the next thing.
I was like, all right, let's move on to Maria's now.
Yeah, and those aren't easy either, man. When you get into hollow Marias, that's fun. So did you pull points or anything like that ever with them?
No, we didn't really do too much of that. He had his own torch set up and just had me on a little national hand torch for about the first month. And then the second month I stepped up to like a scorpion, a little 2-stage torch, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I worked on for my whole first year and a half or so.
Cool. Hell yeah. So what was like some of the first stuff that you yourself made for you as an artist, like in terms of like when you figured out, you could make some stuff? Like what were your first items?
Well, just kind of stuck to the basic silver fumed spoons for a long time, and just kind of had that as my foundation. But I've always liked working with solid, and tried to do marbles and implosions and things were kind of like my little guilty pleasure to do after my work shift.
Yeah.
But now that I've got a little bit more experience, I've really taken to gold fuming a lot. I really enjoy that. It's kind of a bit of a connection that I have to Alaska, being such a gold mining type state. There's a lot of raw gold available, and picking that stuff up and trying to learn how to fume with it has been pretty interesting, but also really rewarding. And try to make a lot of gold fume stuff, and more recently just trying to explore the color palette more and more and get familiar with colors, and ultimately would really strive to use colors in my glass that sort of mimic the landscape around me,
Yeah.
Try to draw from the color palette of nature, so to speak,
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you're are you actually like going out and like panning for gold and bringing it home and using it type of thing?
I have actually, but for the most part, I just get like raw, unrefined gold flakes from friends who are prospectors. There's kind of a lot of people who do that in the area, so we got about 2 or 3 buddies who hook me up with little vials of gold flakes whenever I get low, and it's really interesting because they know exactly which creek it came from, and the gold's all been analyzed and assayed or whatever, and they know the percentage of impurities and whatnot, and that does have an effect on the colors and the effects that the fuming has.
Yeah.
So it's fun to be like, this gold's from this creek and this gold's from that creek, and be able to see subtle differences in it.
Yeah, man,
really interesting.
That'd be cool. Like to
Wow.
do a whole series, like a geolocation series based on where the gold came from or some shit. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, it's highly variable. Even just one fleck of raw gold will give you, your first time you fume with it will give you a different effect from the last time you use it right before it burns out. So.
Right. So are you doing mostly like on clear, or are you using color for a base at all for your fume?
I haven't done too much. Did a little bit over like cobalt, things like that, but for the most part, just clear and fuming. That kind of got me through my first year,
Yeah, same here, man. A lot of silver and gold fume, and then gold became like $1,200 an ounce, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna pass for a little bit. But your accessibility to it's pretty cool. Be able to get it right
neat
from the
just
source.
to get it directly from the people who pulled it out of the ground is really cool. And like I said, one of my buddies was kind enough to take me out, and we set up the sluice box, and he's got a little dredge and stuff. So I got some experience firsthand getting gold, and it's wild stuff, man. It's fun.
Oh man, that's too fucking cool, bro. I want to come out and play. That sounds like fun. Like I'm all about like the whole farm to table concept with restaurants. Like my area, we have a lot of that around here, which I think is great, because like I like to really know where the products I purchase come from, whether it's coming from China or coming from South America or, I'm really curious because like I try to be conscious when I purchase things like that it's not coming from some shithole, slave trade labor type place. That's coming from some real people, that know what the hell they're doing. But your side of things with the gold, dude, that's like, I don't know. I can go on all day about that. It's pretty intriguing. It's neat. So
yeah, it's fun. They always say that you should have something, something about your area that inspires your art. And man, the gold fuming, it's really cool. But there's a lot more to it than that. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on in Alaska as far as colors go that makes me want to get a better grip on what colors can match up. What I see outside, and kind of get some nice colorways that way.
Yeah, man, I'm sure lots of blues and greens and browns and stuff. Be interesting.
Yeah, pretty heavy on the grayscale.
Yeah. Yeah, especially
a lot of cloudy, rainy days.
Right. It's good environment to blow glass in, though. So compared to where I'm at, man, it's too hot right now. It sucks.
Yeah, man, we had a couple days this summer, got up around 75 degrees, and just got a little bit of taste of what it felt like to sweat in the shop again.
that was the heat wave.
Yeah. My heart really goes out to you guys in the 100-degree heat.
Yeah, man, talking to some kids in Texas right now, where it's like even hotter than us right now. It's brutal. But yeah, we do what we got to do. We love what we do, and melting glass is just part of it. And some like hot shops will close down during the summertime because they can't stand the heat. Which the hot shop's a little bit different than lamp working, but still, it's like I wouldn't give it up. I just work in the evenings or in the early mornings makes it work. For sure.
Yeah, totally. Do what you can.
Yeah, exactly. So on to the your fuel supply. Are you generating your own oxygen and stuff, or do you actually guys have like accessibility to gas companies out there?
Yeah, Anchorage is kind of a hub for everything, and they do have air gases in Anchorage and whatnot. So I was buying compressed oxygen from them for a long time, but that's pretty brutal. It's about $80 for the big K tank or 300 size tanks, and they don't offer any delivery services to where I live or anything like that. And if I wanted to go liquid oxygen, it'd be like $600 a fill or something. So that wasn't really realistic. So yeah, for a long time I was driving into Anchorage, and I'd get 2 or 3 tanks of oxygen and drive them about 40 minutes back down to where I live in the back of the car, until that kind of proved not really a long-term method of getting my oxygen. So I sucked it up, and I actually invested in one of those high-volume oxygen systems about 9 months ago or so, and I've just been loving that, man. It's just an amazing thing to walk out, flip a switch, open your regulator, and have all the oxygen you could ever need just right there from your home. So that's really, really just done huge things.
If you don't mind me asking, what'd you pay for it? For your entire setup per se, from start to finish?
I think it was around eight and a half thousand with shipping for the base setup, and it was pretty brutal. The guy over there at High Volume Oxygen, though, is really, really good to work with. He's willing to finance it for you and all kinds of things so you can pay it off over time. And like I said, that's about 2 years worth of oxygen. So in the long run, it's going to be a wise investment. And it's also something that you can stand on, too. So I can add more oxygen concentrators to it if I want to add more torches. And, man, that value is just outrageous. I can't even tell you how happy I am that I bit the bullet and did it. It was pretty brutal, but man, it's just crucial for places where oxygen costs are that high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking, that whole concept too. Because like when we were down in St. Thomas, we were talking to some of the locals about my ideas that I had, and they were saying oxygen is pretty readily available because of the dive shops and stuff, but propane was like the one thing that was difficult to get. And to have to ship it in on a freight or something like that, or like it was weird because down in there they have this. I think they said it was one of the largest oil refineries in the world, but their gas prices are like $5 a gallon.
Wow.
It's like ridiculous, $5.75, $6 a gallon. It was crazy, and so that's when I was talking to them. They're like, yeah, petroleum and all that stuff is like super, super expensive. So I'm assuming propane's probably in the same boat, like where you're at with the oxygen situation. It's kind of crazy. And there's not much you can do.
Yeah, oxygen is the tough part of being in Alaska. Actually, propane's pretty easy to get due to the rural nature. So many people use propane to power their homes or whatever. Propane's everywhere. So propane is actually cheaper than some spots in California that I've seen.
Huh. Is there a lot of natural gas in your area too?
Natural gas, yeah, definitely. A lot of people heat their homes with natural gas. but I haven't looked into setting up my torch on a natural gas pipeline yet.
Yeah, it works different. It's a little bit hotter that I found. I might be wrong, but from what I've noticed, because over at Disney we've got 4 stations in different locations. Some we have on propane, some are on Disney's natural gas lines coming in, and it's a little bit different. It's not as dirty, which is one thing that's nice. I'm not always like wiping the carbon off my torch, you know. At least on the Carlisles.
Yeah.
The GTTs don't really get the buildup, but the Carlisle gets that buildup going. It's pretty gross.
I just keep a 100-pound propane tank and a couple spares around, and that seems to be doing it for now. But in the long run, if I was going to set up a large studio, I would definitely be pretty curious to see how the natural gas would work out.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you find any increase in your power bill at all from using the concentrator?
Man, not really. Seems like it couldn't be more than $20 a month of an increase.
Cool. That's not bad when you do the math over a time period.
Yeah, and electricity is not too cheap. So I would guess it's more like $10 to $15 a month extra.
Cool. Well, cool. That's why I wanted to ask, man, because like I know I've seen a lot of the kids out there that are going towards the oxygen concentrators and stuff, and I've seen them around for a while, but it seems like with these newer companies that are coming up, because like the old ones I had looked into were like big and noisy and expensive and not really worth the investment, but now they're getting smaller and quieter, which is awesome. And I kind of wonder, you know, if it's just like the medical grade oxygen companies' technology getting better, or if the pipe industry is driving this, or what. But either way, I'm glad it's happening, because like I'm at that point now myself where I'm like, I want to start looking into getting one. Like it just, and like you're saying, in the long term of things, it makes way more sense.
Yeah. I mean, I hear stories about people who live in areas where liquid oxygen is dirt cheap and whatnot, and if I was in a spot like that, maybe I wouldn't have invested in it, but where I live, that's just not an option, so this is kind of the only route that I could the only really viable route, at least, to be able to price my stuff appropriately.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, like here, for instance, we pay about $155 for a liquid tank, and that's with everything, taxes, delivery, the monthly fee, the whole 9 yards, and delivery as well, which is pretty nice. And we get about 10 days to just under a month, depending on shifts-wise, out of one full tank with 4 people working.
Yeah, that's the thing about the high-volume oxygen system is you don't have that feeling that I'm draining a tank. You know, it's just always going to be coming out the hose, and that just really is a freedom type of experience. I don't know. It's incredible.
Are you filling a tank and then running off a tank while you're filling a tank, or are you running straight off the machine?
Well, the way it works, it's got the Respironics N10 oxygen concentrators, and so I have 2 of those that feed into a tank, and the tank, so it's a low pressure tank that is sort of specific to the high volume company.
Okay.
And that tank pressurizes the oxygen to about 100 psi, and once it gets to 100 psi, it turns the concentrators off, and then once your pressure gets down to about 50 psi, it turns it back on. So it's totally automated and does everything for you, and it just keeps the oxygen coming out. But the benefit of having that kind of storage tank is you have that buffer. So if you need to crank up your regulator or raise your torch, you have that, extra storage of oxygen. You're not limited by the flow rate of the concentrators.
Yeah. Hell yeah, that's what I was kind of curious about. Because I know certain ones I've heard about that really you can't run any torch off them. Maybe like a minor bench burner kind of thing. But the bigger torches, higher stage torches, you can't run them. So it's good to know that. How big is the machine?
Yeah, I calculated it out, and the savings were huge. The machine is not too big, maybe like 4 feet tall or so. And I know that he's working on smaller and more powerful models as we speak. But two of those oxygen concentrators and the storage tank with a little compressor on top. It's a pretty small setup. It's not too loud or anything. It's really worth it if you're anywhere where oxygen costs like I am. I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I guess. And
the company is killer, man. The customer service and the warranties and all that kind of stuff. I've had a few minor issues with it, and Mark has just been way on top of it. Well, you can text him at any time, and he'll send you out the replacement parts. And they really stand behind their product, so that makes it that much better.
Hell yeah. Rad, man. Well, thanks for sharing that for sure. When you get into you're actually selling your glass, what are your outlets that you have? Do you have distributors you go to, wholesalers, local shops, shows, events?
No, I mostly do the wholesale thing around to the local shops, mostly all in the Anchorage area. There's so few lamp workers in Alaska that I've been pretty much all my time's been taken up just trying to supply the shops, in the Anchorage area. So there's probably 10 or so shops in the area there, and more in the rest of Alaska that I'd like to expand to, but just one shop at a time. And they've been really good. It's a personal kind of relationship with the shop owners, and so I will store up a case or two of glass and go into Anchorage and make my deliveries once every 2 weeks or a month or so.
Beautiful. What kind of stuff do they buy? Like, what's like one of your, say, popular models?
Yeah, the spoon market is still going pretty strong in Alaska, which is a real blessing for new lamp working. I've heard a lot of other places where spoons aren't selling so much, and people got to go right into making rigs in their first couple months of blowing glass. And I've experimented with that, but it seems like the shops always request more and more spoons, and that's been kind of the main bread and butter for me. But more and more so, the concentrates thing is catching on, and pendants are kind of slowly catching on. I'm starting to see a few of them around the Anchorage area and whatnot.
Hell yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I think it's just going to blow up.
Yeah, because you guys are medical now, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Last November, they voted to legalize it totally, and so that's great.
Is it totally like
They're
recreational?
still working on all the. Yeah.
No
Or the Oregon, Alaska, Washington, and Colorado. We're all on board, so it's pretty great. They still haven't finished up all the whatever legislation or whatnot, but hopefully by this summer the dispensaries will be open for business, and then it's just full on from then.
Sounds like a wave of glass blowers will be moving to Alaska here pretty soon. Holy
yeah,
shit.
I think so. I mean, I think that would be a good thing for the glass scene if there was more local glass blowers. But there are some other issues. Like I said, oxygen is a big one, and cost of shipping your materials is pretty brutal. It can be up to a third of your expenses just shipping the stuff up there. And sometimes I'll call suppliers to order something, and they'll just say like, nope, there's no way we can ship it to Alaska. And it's like, oh, well, there's a way. We just got to figure it out. So I'll have to do the research myself and line up with a barge service or some trucking company, and then relay that information back to the supplier, and then get my stuff on a barge or a truck or something.
Yeah, man. Holy shit. Yeah, because that's why I was kind of curious too, like how you import your materials. Because like I know, like I see like Mountain Glass, they ship all of the world more or less to an extent, at least all 50 states. So which would include Alaska too. But I guess I can see like certain things, and shipping wise would probably be pretty tricky and expensive.
Yeah, Mountain Glass definitely does ship up to Alaska. It's they will do USPS or whatever. But if you're trying to do bulk order on clear glass or something, you don't want to have them have to chop up all of your tubes and stuff for you so that they can fit it in a small enough box to mail. It's better just to save up your pennies and get a whole pallet of glass at once shipped up.
Yeah, that's one of the things I recommend to everybody. Absolutely. Wait for a sale, because usually like Mountain Glass, for instance, I'll have like 40% off Cymax or their Chinese glass or whatever, every 6 months or so. And if you save up, freaking get at least 6 to 10 cases, and you can get it shipped by freight, which is usually like $120 for freight, And if you think about like, with like, say if you're buying Cymax or Chinese, it's like 5 feet rod or tubes and rods, so you have to pay an extra $15 for oversized shipping, and it's like $35. I mean, for me here in Florida, it's like $35 a case to have a case of glass shipped. Where if I get 10 cases, that's like $350 to freaking ship my glass. Where I can get a semi truck on a pallet, and it costs $120 for everything, and I can add more shit. I can put 20 freaking cases on it if I want, So, but it was nice. I went up there a month and a half ago, I think it was. We were up there, and it was so nice, dude, just to walk into their warehouse and actually pick my shit out. It was pretty neat. It was the first time in over 10 years that I've actually not had to pay for shipping. I paid taxes, which was the first time, but I don't care. So yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I hear that.
And paying the state tax.
Yeah, another thing is, like I said, more and more glass blowers show up here or get started here. The more opportunity there is for people to get together and combine orders, so that we could all split the shipping and make getting a pallet a little bit more
Yeah, that's
feasible.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That makes total sense. And that would probably work out. You can start some kind of organization of some sort of, community up there. That'd be rad.
Yeah, we got there's about 5 or 10 of us or so that all kind of get together, and if there's an order going down, let each other know a couple of days in advance so that you can add to it if you need, and then once it shows up, we just all split it up. So that has been hugely beneficial as the scene keeps growing.
Hell yeah! Is a lot of the artists in Anchorage that kind of vicinity that you're in?
I would say in general, the vast majority of the population of the state is in Anchorage and the Anchorage area.
Okay.
So that's where most of the glass artists are located. But I have heard of some glass blowers in the outer areas, down in southeast Alaska and whatnot. But it seems like they keep a pretty low profile and just kind of work within their community and don't spend too much time on social media. But if there are any others out there, it'd be nice to contact them and see who's who and meet up with them. But it can be a pretty long way to travel even within the state.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. It's a big state. Holy shit. A lot of flying going on.
Yeah, take a ferry down or something.
Yeah, hell yeah. So besides the pipe game, do you also do shows and little festivals and stuff and sell things other than pipes?
Yeah, I just started getting into that more and more this summer. There's a lot of local art for sure, which is really nice. So I have done a lot of like earrings and necklaces and even, more obscure things like, glass drinking straws or whatever. So this summer I did a couple different fairs and whatnot, and that was pretty fun. It's really nice to get out and interact with people face to face and kind of show them the glass, even if it's not functional. But yeah, I really like making jewelry a lot, and that's something that I'd be interested in pursuing more and more. But the market's a little bit more shaky, and there's more competition in that realm where I'm at. So
right,
like I said, there's few people doing wholesale pipes, and a lot of people crafting earrings and kind of that touristy type stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, man, find your niche and stick with it. But as long as you're also willing to step outside the box and expand your horizons in the glass world, because it's so important, learning sculpture and just even making flower vases and stuff, because like there's so many times where like you start making a pipe and it's like, well, I can make this into a pretty perfume bottle, but then you're like, well, I can make a pipe and sell it tomorrow, or kind of thing, which is interesting.
I have really enjoyed making flower vases. Actually, now that I think about it, those have been a big thing.
Yeah, I bet.
Doing live demos and stuff, I'll just make 10 or 15 glass vases, and people seem to be pretty big fans of those with all the cool wildflowers we got and sort of miniature tundra versions of all these flowers. They just kind of go perfectly in a little tiny vase. It's really nice.
Hell yeah, that's cool as shit. So you're able to do you bring your concentrator with you when you do glass demos on site, or do you just bring a tank?
No, I'll just spring for a tank in those kind of scenarios.
Yeah.
Drive an Anchorage, pick one up,
Yeah, makes sense.
But that's kind of the thing about being in an area where your costs of blowing glass are so high is it really kind of puts strain on you to make stuff that you can sell and is reliable, because your costs are so high. Each rod is way more important,
Yeah, absolutely.
And each minute of fuel is that much more important. So it's harder to branch out as a beginner, when you're not doing so well.
Huh, yeah.
But I do think that it's important.
Absolutely. Have you had any kind of influence from like the Inuits or any like traditional, Native Americans per se from that area, or any of like the Alaskan culture, in your work at all? Or are you like what's the story with all that stuff in your work?
I wouldn't say so much directly into my work, but as far as just skill and craftsmanship and just general ability, like it's been highly influential in my life. Work ethic, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
So there definitely has been influence, and I've met a lot of really good people, and Native Arts is just amazing. There's some killer artists up there, and just really, really hardworking people who just get up and they make their craft every day, and that's how they make their bread and butter, So it's awesome.
Yeah,
there's
man.
There's a lot of talent in Alaska, and I'd be interested to see what it translates to as more and more people get on the glass torch.
Yeah, it's true. I know it's cool to see like artists that do mediums and then they get into the glass and it's like they find this new spark of some sort and they're a new medium, and go buck wild and make some amazing shit out of it.
Yeah,
it'd
it would be awesome.
It'd be a lot of fun. Hell yeah, man. So how's your have you been using social media to your advantage too, with being the fact that you're out in the middle of nowhere, kind of to branch out?
Yeah,
to
exactly. Social media has been awesome. It's just so nice to be able to connect and see what's going on in the glass community outside of your area. It's just something that I've just kind of been fundamental for me getting started, and kind of being able to get on Instagram and see what's going on. Whereas I'll go into a shop with some dabbers or something, and they won't even know what they are. So it's cool to see what's relevant and see what's going on in places outside of Alaska.
Yeah, keep up the speed with stuff. Did you go to any of the pipe trade shows ever, or you do anything like that, or you just mainly just stay where you're at?
I haven't been to any of the trade shows, but I did make it down to DFO this year for the first time, which was just awesome. Like you mentioned before, I was able to go down and get a bunch of supplies and bought a whole bunch of color, and to be able to go and see all of the color laid out in front of you on a table and pick what you like right there and pick out specific bundles was just a real treat. I really loved it. So yeah, I loaded up a carry-on case full of glass and flew it back home, and for a fraction of the cost that I would have to pay if I shipped it up.
Yeah, I'm sure. It sucks. Holy shit. So when you do that, when you do fly with it, did you just do just had them put on the plane, or did you do carry on?
Yeah, I just did carry on as much as I could fit in my little wheelie luggage case,
Yeah. Yeah, I always wonder, because I've been wanting to talk to some cats out there about like flying to do demos and shows and stuff, and flying with your torch. And I hear that as long as you just check it on the plane, usually it's pretty good, but then you got TSA screwing with you sometimes, wondering what the hell you have in that case. So
yeah,
I'm always curious.
When I left California and flew up here, I had just one of those Rubbermaid 30-gallon Tupperware bins that I zip tied shut, and I had all my torch and my hoses in there and a bunch of tools, and they definitely went through it, but it was all there when I got home.
Cool. Yeah, that's all that matters. I mean, you hear these horror stories, how like recently with the body scan equipment, whatever they were doing the tests, or the secret behind the scene test, or whatever the hell it was, and like 95% of them failed. People getting through with fake bombs and shit. It's like, so when it comes to our stuff, it's like, they see our torch, like, what the hell's that, So I'm always curious, because it's not a common thing you see every day.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I haven't been able to travel too much, unfortunately, but it's something that I'm looking forward to doing more and more, and I think it'll be really important for my career to get out of the state every now and again and collaborate with other artists, and also to host artists come up and visit.
Yeah, man, I would love to come visit. Absolutely.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's just great. Actually, was able to host a couple of glass artists from Virginia like about a month ago, and that was just awesome. They came up, a guy named Hemlock and Mowgli.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
They're both out of Virginia, and they came up and hung out in my shop for about 4 days, and went to a couple other glass shops in the area and checked out what we were doing, and that was just really nice to have some fresh ideas and some talented people come and visit.
Yeah, that's fun, dude.
So it's a real pleasure.
Yeah, that's one of the things getting my new studio space looking forward to, is being able to have, like, I had space in my garage for like one person at a time, but like it'd be cool, man, to have like, a group of guys come in town, or gals too, or whatever, just come in and host an event and have people come in and play. I love it.
Yeah, I think Alaska could be a really good place for kind of the the artist retreat vacation sort of idea, and people seem to want to visit the place, and if they could come up and get on the torch for a few days, that would just be all the better, and hopefully bring out some new sides of their creativity, being in such a different setting.
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce could start adding it in their commercials. Come blow glass in Alaska.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a dream?
Got some guys in there making pipes and shit. Be hilarious. So since seemed like you got your head together with numbers and what have you, cool, you okay to talk about some business?
Yeah, let's talk business.
Yeah, man, cool. Because I'm always curious, because everybody has their way of doing things, and some people don't do anything at all, which I always encourage, don't do that. So in terms of keeping track of all your finances, like, how do you go about it? Do you have an accountant, or do you do it yourself?
I do it all myself at the moment. Kind of being still pretty new to the trade. it's been pretty simple, and I've been able to keep track of it pretty easily on my own. And last year I just got on and used like the kind of elite version of H&R Block, online tax services, and that seemed to do it for me. Pretty straightforward, just try to keep my records and all my receipts and expenses and everything like that. Just kind of pile up all my receipts and went through them all. It wasn't too complex, but in this year I definitely would like to get an accountant or someone with a little bit more professional background in it and see what kind of that leads to, because it was a bit of a headache,
Yeah, it is, and it's also like you come to find all the little small areas you can cut corners and really save yourself a lot of money. It's amazing. Like I preach about having like I use a pretty good sized pot. I wouldn't say medium sized, but it's a large size cooking pot that I use for my knockoff thing, and I have it written down how much it weighs, and usually every 2 weeks to the end of the month, depending on how fast the thing fills up, I'll weigh it out, dump the water out, and usually there's no water in there by the time it's full. It all evaporates out, but I'll weigh it out and then just do the math, and that's how that waste. You don't have to. I mean, you can keep it if you want, but as long as you're tracking it, you're limited up to a certain amount of money every year you can use for write-off stuff. So those little small shortcuts, like, it's crazy how much money you can save in the long run, especially if you file quarterly and do an estimate. You can even get to a point where you're paying a little bit extra and then you get a refund at the end of the year, which I wouldn't recommend paying extra and getting a refund. But the fact is that still can happen. But at the same time, too, you pay your quarterlies, and if you underestimate a little bit, you don't have this gigantic tax bill at the end of the year. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely need to get into more. I haven't been that refined with it, but I also haven't, as it gets more and more of a main part of my income, I think that's something that I'll definitely need to do. But for this first year, it was still pretty simple. But as I get more and more serious with it, that's definitely going to be a necessity.
Yeah, man, it makes a difference, and it even makes you like feel good that you're like, okay, I know this all sucks. I have to throw this away, but I know I can write this off. Like anything that breaks, I have a Tupperware, a big Tucker tote that I use, that I just throw all my old broken shit in every year, and that's like my graveyard. But the same thing, it's like, I have a mathematical formula. It's a real basic, like, it's a 40-60 thing or something of that nature. But anyways, to do the math and figuring out how much it costs, across the board of what the weight of broken pieces are. And I hate seeing these old pieces I made that are broken. It's like bringing back old scars and shit, But one of my tax bills not as much at the end of the year, it's like those scars don't hurt as much.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely need to do. That is a killer idea. I wouldn't even have thought of that, being able to count up your waste bucket and deduct that. That's killer.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I'm glad I could help. Yeah, it's like that's part of this whole thing with the show. It's like with the way that our community's grown so fast, like it was growing pretty fast, and then with the things legally changing, but like once degenerate art hit and people were like, oh, what is this? Like my last show, he was like, he didn't really know what was going on, and then all of a sudden he sees degenerate art, and Will's like standing up halfway through the show in his living room, like cheering on the fucking TV because he's like, I gotta go do this, and it's totally understandable, dude. Yeah. Like, Slinger did such an awesome job in that documentary. Like, I want to bring him on the show and talk, because my inspiration to start this podcast was degenerate art. And, I've been blowing glass for 15 years before I saw it already, but I saw that video and saw this new influx of new glass artists now led to this podcast. And so it's like, so now that the community's growing and the knowledge is growing, but also the perspective on society is getting a little more open-minded to what we do as being, wow, this is actually a pretty amazing art these guys are doing. I mean, like, to me, like, some of the most technical artists in the world are fucking pipe makers. It's just some amazing shit that goes out there. But that being said, there's more money being made on a consistent basis year-round. It isn't you work your ass off from fucking June until August, September, and then you work the fair the rest of the year to make your money, like like the retail stores do for freaking Black Friday to Christmas time. We don't have to do that anymore, and because of that, now people are making more money, which they have to pay attention to taxes, and then the tax man pays attention to us, and it's like we have to go back and forth and cover our asses. So I want to get like the education out there and tell people, if you need to go talk to an accountant, go talk to an accountant. It may cost you $100, and it'll save you thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars in the long run when it comes down to it. I can't say it enough.
And the peace of mind is just valuable.
Yeah, it's huge, man. It's amazing, especially if you can find someone that's an independent person that doesn't work for an H&R Block or for the bigger companies that has been doing it for theirself or for like, you know, small businesses more or less. You know, because like for us, all you have to have is a DBA or a basic sole proprietorship, register your name with the state, go get a fucking checking account from your local bank with your name on it and also your business name, your DBA name, and you're good to go. You keep your check of your expenses and your things, and you know, PayPal helps out with the expense because you can keep track. You know, because like, I pay a lot of things with my debit card I have from PayPal, so I can keep track of some expenses. But you never know with PayPal. I've heard horror stories about PayPal, so it's like, you know, it'd be nice. Like I was talking to my Xavier, kind of a side note here on this whole topic. We were talking about how it'd be so nice if someone, if not us, but if someone started a financial merchant service for the pipe community where there was like, you know, nobody's worried about getting their accounts closed and their money seized because they're selling pipes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit intimidating to kind of decide how you're going to do that at the beginning because I've heard those horror stories about PayPal too, seizing all your money and whatnot.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, really the trick is like, oh, dude, it would fucking... Like, I remember when I first used, I don't know what the hell it's called, one of the swiping card services that are out there. But I had a big payment come through, and they flagged my thing. I got the money, and then they held the money, and I had to show them, like, an advertisement and all this other shit that I was actually a legit business. And they wouldn't accept any of it, and I had to refund. They had to refund the money, and I got penalized. I mean, it was the Square service, that Square,
yeah,
you know, and it was a pain in the ass. So I'm like, fuck it, we got to find something else because it's easy to do this shit if we can have someone out there working with us. So I don't know. Anybody out there in the financial services or app, you know, creating or any of that kind of stuff, get on the ball and help us out because we need this shit. Be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that stuff is super important, and it's just incredible to see the amount of revenue people are generating just with their social media and their Instagram pages. I mean, that's something that I haven't really done very much of at all. Only made a few sales through PayPal, and it's just awesome when it happens. But to see the artists that are successful just doing that as their main source of revenue, just doing PayPal and auctions on their Instagrams, that is just really inspirational and gives me a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, man, it's neat. You know, it's. I'm kind of curious. Like, I have some ideas, I guess, in theory of where the evolution of the smoke shop's going to go to. And having to compete with social media, because like it seems like a lot of these smoke shops are leading towards like the gallery setup with a little glass blowing studio inside, and they have like a higher end section of glass and that type of thing, which is like the wave of the future. Even though there's some doing it now, but it's like it's interesting with social media and with it being so easy. I mean, fuck, man, with our phones, it's like I can go. Like I've gone to Disney and done sales while I'm on rides there and shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like it's really interesting to work it. And along with like you're saying, like with the auctions and stuff, it's pretty cool, man. You know, like I love giving away stuff. So from the day one, like my first 1,000 followers, I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. I got 1,000 followers. Like if I have one person listening to my show, I'm happy, dude. Like first did my pilot on here, I was like wasn't very comfortable with the microphone or even talking to myself and listening to myself. And I saw my numbers the next day after my first release of the pilot, and I was like, oh, cool, I got an audience. It was like 7 people. I was fucking stoked. So now it's made me way more comfortable. Social media is the same way. You know, you do like your thank you to your guests, to your friends and your followers and whatever. And then you become more comfortable with them. The more you do it, the more, you know, you give away and you do your auctions and you grow an audience and you grow a crowd. Next thing you know, you got 15,000 followers that are like true fans of your glass and your artwork and who you are as an artist and a person.
Right.
You know, it's an amazing concept to like. There's a book out there called Tribes, and I'm having a brain fart on the guy's name right now. It'll come to me in a second. But it's a really good book, and it's all about that. It's all about building your tribe. You know, you could have 100,000 followers on Instagram, but really, Seth Godin is the guy's name. Seth Godin book called Tribes. But the idea is that you could have like 100,000 followers, but if you have like 1,000 true fans that are like, they love everything you do, that's the way it is. That's the way it should be. And that's your true following is that 1,000 people is your tribe. It's neat. And to have this...
Yeah, that's really nice to have.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I think that movement towards smoke shops and stuff turning into more type of galleries, I think that would be a really good thing. It seems like a lot of the people that go to glass shops, myself included, like going to college and stuff, I would visit glass shops and just kind of go in there almost like it was a gallery, just to see what was on display, see what was new, and I think that seems like what customers want. Hopefully there'll be a way to pay the bills if it was kind of the higher end galleries. But yeah, it's a little heartbreaking when you go in and put so much effort into your pieces and they just get, kind of thrown on a shelf haphazardly, So
yeah,
to have everything have a little bit more space and be well lit is just so nice,
Yeah, it is, man. There's definitely such a large appreciation across the board now for what we do. Where before it was like they would want to talk you down, now they want to just hand you money because they appreciate your work and they're willing to pay what they can pay for it because they know that their customers appreciate it even more so and are willing to pay the money for it. It's awesome. Like, it's an amazing time to be an artist, as a glass artist, to have people respect your work the way that you'd hope your work's respected, without coming across arrogant. It's to be humble and love what you do and love the people that love your stuff as well.
Totally. Yeah, Alaska seems to be a little bit behind the times, but we just got a Peace of Mind opened up in Alaska about a year ago, and that was the first shop that featured all American-made glass, and that's really changed the standard in Alaska. For a long time, there was a lot of imports, a lot of glass made overseas, and the customers weren't used to seeing a lot of American-made stuff from well-known artists. So that's just kind of starting to spread up into our neck of the woods, where people are just kind of realizing what it's about and what's going on, and kind of putting their heads up and seeing kind of the movement coming our way is pretty exciting. So I'm glad it's going in that direction.
Yeah, man. You seem to be like 2 years in, and you got your head together, and your techniques are, or you're getting your shit figured out, and it seems like it's like you're saying, man, timing couldn't be better for you. So definitely take that bull by the horns.
I'm hopeful. It's something I'm really passionate about. Like I said, kind of growing up around it, it's just awesome. I wasn't always set on being a glass artist. Growing up, I thought I was going to be a biologist. I went to school for wildlife biology and whatnot, and moved up to Alaska with the intent to kind of go down that route, whether it was fisheries biology or something like that. Did a lot of bird biology stuff in college. Did bird banding and all this kind of stuff. So that was what my intent was, moving to the state of Alaska. But then after being here for a while and doing some soul searching, I realized that I really needed to pursue glass. It's always been in the background of my mind, and it was like, all right, well, that is actually the direction that I want to go in. And like I said, was lucky enough to get that apprenticeship, and ever since then, it's just my passion has just been growing more and more with it. And so I'm just putting everything into this, and I don't know, I'm so super excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, dude, that's too cool. Being that you are like out in the woods, and I know it's like you're not really out in the woods, but you kind of are. Like, what's your downtime like? Like, when you're not on the torch.
Sorry, I was talking over you there. What'd you say?
I was just saying, like, your extracurricular activity for Alaska. Like, what do you guys do out there if you're not in the studio?
Yeah, well, I've been doing part-time jobs and side jobs on the side, so that was kind of a full-time thing. I did some guiding, and then did some house sitting for a homestead for a while, which was way off the road system, and that's kind of where I was like, yeah, did enough soul searching to realize that I needed to pursue kind of a more artistic vocation instead of the biology side of things, because that's kind of a heartbreaking field to be in.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But anyways, did that. Now I live in a ski town, so it's not totally rural. It's about 40 minutes outside of Anchorage, like I said, and last winter I worked part-time at the ski resort, bumping chairs up the chairlifts, and guiding part-time in the summer, and I've been doing some commercial fishing and things like that. So I haven't been all glass the whole time, but as it's getting more and more refined and more of a full-time job, that's just perfect with me. Then in my off time, I can pursue my interests such as, kayaking and hiking and snowboarding and things like that, but Alaska is a real paradise for sportsmen and outdoorsy people, from hunting to fishing, which I do love, and just hiking, going bird watching, just even walking your dog around the neighborhood can turn into a pretty adventurous hike if you wanted to, have it running into bears and moose and whatever, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
You got to be into the outdoors, but if you are, man, I can't imagine a more fun place to be.
Yeah, dude. You know, it kind of goes along with the whole theme of the show is like being a lifestyle entrepreneur and to be able to like, you know, go in the studio and work your day in the studio and make your money for your day or the week or whatever, and then go fucking play, go have fun. Exactly. Like you're saying, go kayaking, go hiking out in the woods, go fishing, sit and read a book, you know, whatever. It's like, you know, the ability to be able to make a living.
It fits in really nice.
Yeah.
Glassblowing fits in really nice with that sort of, you know, Alaskan's very seasonal, you know, winter, summer, it's different crowds, brings in the tourists and this and that, and snow and brings different people up. So, different jobs throughout the season. A lot of people that live there, they're kind of a jack of all trades, and they know they've done jobs all over the board in their life, you know. So it's really interesting how people, what jobs and what path people have taken to get there. So, like I said, I was kind of looking at the prospects of doing seasonal biology work and then seasonal guiding work and whatnot, but that leaves the kind of shoulder season up in the air, and a lot of my friends are constantly having to reapply for jobs and, you know, constantly having to move and relocate to field camps or whatever. And being able to have glass blowing, you know, even if you're doing it really minimally, just to have it for those couple months on the shoulder seasons is super valuable to know that you can keep making money and be creative and have that as your, you know, source of, you know, creative outlet, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, and a great thing to fall back on.
It's really nice. It just fits in nicely with that seasonal aspect.
Yeah, that's too cool. Yeah, I never thought about that. That's why, like I said, bro, that's why I wanted to call you and talk to you, because like I saw your post on Instagram and I was like, God, that is fucking intriguing as hell, being a glassblower in Alaska. Because like I've always been intrigued and loved Alaska. I've never been there, but ever since I was a kid, you know, I got into like learning about the bald eagles there, and then the wildlife and the bears and the trees, and you know, like then like I was saying before we started recording that, you know, with my uncle then being stationed in the Air Force there, and yeah, man, I'd love to come play there. It'd be a lot of fun. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, I've got a company I'm locally here in town that I'm going to be talking to. They're called Carib Up, and they manufacture an inflatable paddleboard. And it's we're going to go out and I'm going to interview the guys, the owners, you know, about their story, and then we're going to go out and test them out and try them out. And you know, I've seen pictures like where they've got a couple standing. The guy standing on it, and his wife's or girlfriend's like sitting in between his legs, and she's got the cooler between her feet, and they're just going down rivers, just hanging out, dude, on these paddle boards, you know, and you can deflate them.
You're like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like, there's a couple people I follow on Instagram that are yoga instructors, and this one chick's down on somewhere in the Caribbean. I don't remember where it was exactly, but it's like they're doing yoga classes on the water on stand-up paddle boards. You know, it's freaking crystal clear blue water. They're in their bathing suits and they're on the freaking paddle boards doing yoga. You know, it's like it's cool as shit. Even though it's not Alaska, it's the fact that that's the whole thing is to, you know, love your job, make a good living at it, and then go fucking play and live life and enjoy the outdoors, no matter where you're at.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you could find adventure anywhere. You don't have to be in Alaska by any means.
Yeah, but that's like your guys' theme, isn't it? Like the land of adventure or whatever, the last frontier or something like that. The motto is.
Yeah, the last frontier.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But I don't know. Like I said, I grew up in California, and just for some reason, I always had it in the back of my mind that Alaska is where I wanted to be, or at least I wanted to live in some place that had snow. Hell and after I finished college, I just packed up and moved up to Alaska with my girlfriend, and neither of us had ever visited the place, but we sort of, you know, sold everything we had and moved up there just kind of on the hope or the trust that it was going to be something that we liked. And luckily enough, we've been really enjoying it. We've been up there for about 3.5 years now. And like I said, glass blowing for 2. And, yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's downsides and pros and cons to anywhere, but, like I say, the highs match the lows, you know, the lower the lows, the higher the highs. And there's some rough weather days and some really dark gray winters and this and that. But, man, it's a beautiful place. I really encourage anyone to come see it just as a way to explore the United States and see what's out there. It's,
exactly. Absolutely.
Huge state. There's a lot of different stuff within Alaska, you know. I always thought it was a cop-out to say, oh yeah, I want to move to Alaska, it's like saying I want to move to the West Coast. You still have a lot of narrowing down to do within the state. There's a lot of different places and a lot of different types of life that you could live here.
I bet. How do you deal with the whole 6 months of weird sun and darkness whole shit? Like, do you have to deal with that where you're at with the whole, you know, like maybe 3 hours of daylight?
It's interesting, man. It throws you off. I mean, it's not too bad where I'm at. I'm not that far north in south central Alaska, so
okay, cool.
Wintertime is like 5.5 hours of daylight at the shortest, you know, in the winter solstice.
Yeah.
So 5.5 hours is pretty short, and especially dark and short if it's a stormy day. It's really dark, but I don't know. I've always liked change, and that's one thing that you can count on as Alaska, whether it's the weather is changing or the daylight is changing or the, you know, animal migrations are changing. The birds are coming and going, you know, everything's always in flux. Plant life is coming and just, it's always change going on. So that's really nice. And I enjoy it. So even when it is dark, you're gaining or you're losing sunlight at such a rapid rate that you're really aware of it. You know, you can leave for 2 weeks and come back and have a totally different daylight darkness schedule. And so that's really fun. You know, it kind of gives you something to look forward to, and you always have this feeling that, you know, it's getting dark, but it's not going to be dark for that long. By the time February, March rolls around, you got more sunlight than most places in the lower 48. So
yeah, exactly.
I kind of think of Alaska having, like, the stereotype is that Alaska is super dark, but in reality, it's dealing with sunlight all night in the summer. That's even harder for me.
Yeah, that's what I was
trying
wondering.
to go to bed.
Yeah.
3:30 in the morning, and you don't need a headlamp, you know, and nothing. It's just. It's really, really weird to be out at night walking around and have it, you know, just kind of be dusty and not dark at all.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Do you have like blackout curtains in your windows and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, ideally you got blackout curtains. I just use a little eye mask, you know, like a face mask thing over my eyes at night, or pull a hat down over my eyes or something. But yeah, it is important to have darkness. Actually, they say it's like, whatever you're, you know, if you're sleeping in a place that's not dark all summer, then it messes with your, like, melatonin or whatever.
Oh yeah, your hormones get all, man.
Work quite right.
Oh yeah, your cortisol. I mean, everything. Your serotonin levels, like everything's just all jacked up. Because they even say, like, people that live in
I don't know too much about it, but they do recommend that you black out your room in the summertime and that you take vitamin D in the wintertime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and have like the solar lights in your house. But, you know, being on a torch, dude, like, yeah, exactly. Happy lamps. I know we don't get a lot of vitamin. I mean, at least I don't know if we get vitamin D from our torch, you know, but we do get the UV rays from it. So I kind of wonder, you know, working during those times of year, if the torch would help be your happy light, you know.
Cool. Yeah, that was kind of the thing where I came to terms with admitting that I really wanted to pursue glass. So I was like, well, I'm from a place that has a lot of heat, and now I live in a place that's freezing cold. So if I work next to a hot torch and a hot kiln, that'll be good for my desert adapted, you know, body.
Yep.
And having all that, UV light, I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff that comes from it. You know, I get a nice tan going and feel the heat on my face, and I think it definitely does something for your whatever seasonal depression or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I would think so. Hell yeah, dude. Well, this has been fun, man. We're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors, and we will be right back. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is sponsored by Wise Guy Media, a new company dedicated to showcasing the talents and offerings of their customers through podcasting, eye-catching graphics, logo, and customized web design. Established in 2015, Wise Guy Media is continuing to push the elements of web and logo design with outside-of-the-box ideas and up-to-date graphic generating programs. Whether you want to launch your own podcast, need a website, or a new logo for your brand, they have all your needs covered to promote yourself and get your brand recognized in your industry. To see what they've been up to, check out their site, www.sonyermedia.com/wiseguy, for a sample of what they've been doing to help get this podcast off the ground. That's www.sonyermedia, SANYERMEDIA.com/wiseguy. So, ready to get into the lightning round?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome, dude. So the lightning round consists of a half a dozen questions with quick 60-second or so answers to them, and you can expound upon them if you'd like, and generally we do and go off in tangents and stuff. And, yeah, man, so here we go. First question is, if you could work with any living glass artist that you haven't worked with yet, who is it and why?
Yeah, wow. Like everyone says, there's so many people, it's hard to name just one. But if I had to, I'd say Matt Robertson has always been someone that I really admire. Seems like every piece he makes I fall in love with. They just pop so much, and I don't know. It's just, he seems to have a lot of skills that are very far from anything that I've been exposed to. So that would be just awesome to work with him. But other than that, people, Andy Roth, I love his shapes and colors. They're just amazing. And there's so many people, but Matt Robertson would have to be my number one pick.
Cool. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, I love his work, bro. He's definitely his characters that he does all have a personality to him that is unlike any other buddy's work out there. They're just like, they're his personality.
Exactly.
And, it's the way they look at you and their eyes are kind of half cocked, and it's fun.
Being such a fan of wildlife and animals and stuff, like I said, I just completely am head over heels for everything he makes, it seems like.
Hell yeah. Awesome. So if you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, what is it?
No! Like something like that.
Hell yeah. Good answer. What are your top 5 favorite colors in glass?
I'd have to say pink slime is my favorite. Purple's always been a favorite of mine. Just an awesome color to work with, really fun. Love that one. It matches up with fuming just really nicely. Amber purple, classic, star white, turbo cobalt, gold fuming. That's a color.
Hey man, that counts, bro. There's some amazing glass gold fuming out there right now. I love it. So, are you a TV, a radio, or both in the studio?
Yeah, I'm all audio for sure. I've never tried to have any TV going, but I listen to music, I listen to podcasts, listen to NPR, things like that, like the longer radio shows, something that you can get into for a 2 or 3 hour radio show. Is just nice because you can kind of split up your day into 2 podcasts or something,
Yeah, dude, I do that. I listen to a lot of sports radio. I listen to a lot of podcasts too, but I have a 9-hour segment throughout in my day that I could go to every single time. If I don't have anything to listen to, I have this block of 3 different shows I listen to. I love it. Makes my day goes by quick.
Yeah.
So, what is your worst injury in the studio?
Probably I had an eye injury. I got a piece of working up when I was building my my hood and my air ducting. I was drilling some holes in the ducting, and a little piece of metal flew up under my safety glasses and stuck into my eye.
Jesus.
Which sucked pretty bad, and ended up having to go to the doctor the next day, and she looked in there and said, yeah, you got a piece of metal in your eye. I can see a ring of rust around it.
Wow. Holy shit.
And they were telling me, they're like, all right, we're going to send you, you're going to have to go to Anchorage and have some eye specialist get it out with a Dremel tool or some horror thing. And then I heard one of the other nurses, who I'm sure is some lady who's worked in all sorts of rural areas where you had to go far beyond her scope of practice. And she was like, oh, foreign object removal from the eye, I can do that. And so this lady comes at me with a hypodermic needle, and she's like, I'm going to kind of swipe the needle sideways over your eye and pop the piece of metal out. So she had me stare at one spot of the ceiling and got it out pretty quickly. I was impressed. It put me on antibiotic eye drops for a week, and 2 weeks later I was back at it. But that was pretty gnarly. That was a little intimidating to have your eyesight gone for a while.
Holy shit! Yeah, it scares me thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was wearing safety glasses and even had one of those respirators on, but I was working with a power drill, and the drill motor fan blew it up under my glasses. So I'd recommend goggles if you're drilling sheet metal.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So, if you can give your beginning glass blowing self any advice, what would it be?
Just have a plan, like make a kind of a schedule for your day and kind of know what you're making. Really, it's tough to start out the day not knowing what I was going to do and just kind of, stumble around for the first hour until I got a direction. So getting in the habit of making a list the night before is super valuable. I wish I would have started doing that sooner. I would have wasted a lot less time.
Yeah,
And the other thing is,
Go on.
what was that?
Go on, Ben. Go on.
The other thing was to get a pair of titanium glasses that have infrared protection as well, like shade 3 or 5. I use the infrared 5s now, and I didn't have that at first. I was just using the rose titanium, and that didn't work out so good. You need more protection than that if you're going to be working with colors.
Are you finding that the 5s, because me personally, with the way my light is set up, the 5s have always been too dark. Unless I'm working, a brighter color. Like, for instance, with Disney, I'm doing Olaf from Frozen, and he's white glass, and it's like, there's times where I'm wearing shade 3s, but I'm like snow blinded because the fucking glass is so bright when it's hot.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
But then I got a pair of shade 5s to make him with, and I even got a shield with the tint in it too to help out. And my eyes were killing me after like an hour. Even though our lighting is awesome, I could see the glass, but and I don't know if it's because I wear glasses as it is, so maybe that's the problem. But I found I was getting bad eye strain because I was trying to see through the dark in a sense to see my item that I was working on.
Huh? Yeah, I haven't noticed that. I mean, it definitely took some getting used to. I felt pretty blind for a while, especially when you step away from your bench and get out of the lights. You can't see anything. But I don't know. I just feel like safety is paramount, and more protection, more better, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I do.
Just bulk up my lights.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's the thing, dude. Just brighten your lights. But unless those that have blown glass out in the sun, too much light can make your glass disappear, and then you can't see your heat base. And the next thing you know, it's weird, man. When I started doing glass was at the Renaissance Festival, and we were out in the sun, and the way our tent was set up. And there would be times where the sun would come through, and I could not see shit. What I was making, it would like drip off my punty or whatever because it was getting too hot. It's weird.
Yeah. I don't know. Try to see what works for you, but I'd recommend some level of infrared protection. That's for
yes,
sure.
I agree. At least a shade 3. Absolutely. 100%. Hell yeah, man. So our last and final question, which is the fun one here, make you think a little bit. If you were stranded on an island that had a glass studio on it and supplied your gases, your kiln, and a torch, what 5 items would you bring?
Well, I think I haven't heard this before, but I would bring a lighter to light up my torch. And maybe start a fire or something. And my infrared glasses with titanium and a graphite pad. I really like the graphite pad. I can't imagine being able to work without one. Other than that, I'd probably bring like a mask, like a diving mask and snorkel. Go enjoy the ocean around me if I was on an island, and probably would like to have a surfboard also.
Fuck yeah, dude. Great answers. Awesome. That's what I'm looking for. I like outside the box. Like when I asked Coyle, he said the first thing I'm bringing is a G6 airplane. I'm like, sweet, dude.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then-
leaving that island.
Yeah, dude. What he's done is like, I'll work a little bit and then I'll fly home. I was like,
I
fuck
don't
yeah,
know.
bro.
It depends on how good the surf is. Maybe I might want a G6 also.
Hey, dude, or the ladies there, or whatever. You never know. It might be because if it was my island, it might be a little bit different. Shit, man. So before we hang up the phone here, can you give us some parting piece of advice for anybody new to the glass world, or also any OGs, and also how is the best way for us to get a hold of you in cyberspace?
Oh man. Well, I still consider myself a newbie, but like I said, be deliberate with your work. Try to make a plan and have a direction before you pick up your piece of glass and start melting it, because that's a crappy feeling to just kind of be blanking out when you're halfway through melting something. Focus on the fundamentals, make sure you set yourself right. Make sure you learn something more or less to completion before you move on to the next thing. And man, now that we live in this technological information age, just do research, study, the stuff that's out there. Utilize your resources. Really, it's just there's so much out there for the beginning glass blower now. It's really should be taken advantage of, from Torch Talk to YouTube, forums, all that kind of stuff. Man, it's incredible the amount of information that's out there.
Yeah, man, I love it.
And then yeah, hit me up on Instagram. That's kind of the biggest thing. And then email and theglassalaska@gmail. And come see me. I'm up in Alaska. Come on, hang out in my studio for a few days. Let's blow glass.
Hell yeah, man. I'm going to buy my ticket tomorrow.
Wait till we get some good snow.
Okay. Hell yeah.
I heard you've not been in snow too much.
No, man. Colorado I guess it's been a year and a half. No, it was last year. Yeah, it was my first time in 38 years that I have seen snow.
Wow.
When I was born in here in '76, we had flurries, and then we had flurries a little bit later on when I was in middle school. And it's been fucking cold, man. Like the cold here, it's like we had a winter here where it was our average cold for a 2-month period was colder than Kentucky that year, and it was like 20s and 30s. And when you have like 85% humidity, it just cuts right through everything you're wearing and into your bones.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's nothing you can do.
I hear that.
It sucks. Like I didn't get a lot of work done during that year. That at least that period of time was. You know, your feet are freezing no matter how many pairs of socks you wear. So, like right now, I'm in my garage.
Yeah,
and I'm
definitely.
go.
I would say I would take 25 degrees and snowing over 35 degrees and raining any day.
Yeah, absolutely. And this winter, they're saying with this El Nino we got going on, it's supposed to be like a cold and severe thunderstorm, tornado outbreak in Florida kind of winter. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we've had some really bad snow years the last 2 years in a row, and they're predicting another bad one this year, unfortunately. But it still snows.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
You're in Alaska. That's what it does. Well, cool, brother.
Bring it.
Yeah, exactly, man. Bring it on, man. It helps the ski industry and everything else, man. It's fucking cool. So, again, brother, thanks for coming on. Like I said, I was definitely intrigued by you being a glassblower in Alaska. And it's, like I said when we first started talking, there's always this romantic, romance side of the idea. And then you come to find out it's just like everybody else, except you pay more money than we do. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the first to blow glass in Alaska by any means. There's some guys that have been up there for 25 years doing it. But, I wouldn't want it. I just love it up there, man. Wasn't blowing glass when I was living in California.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Well, again, man, thank you so much. And again, guys, his Instagram is at the Glass Owl Alaska. Is it? Yeah, the Glass. Yep, at the Glass Owl Alaska. All one word. And you can find his email is
Yep.
his email is at the no, not at the. There's no at in emails. I'm so used to saying that shit now. I'm like,
@
yeah, exactly.
Gmail.
Fuck. So, and his email is theglassowlalaska@gmail.com. And again, brother, thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right, brother, take it easy. See you. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.